Tonight, she opens up at last. This is Nastenka's history, the past she never told. White Nights, Chapter 3, only on Rust Books.
Half her story I already knew. That is, she said, you know that I have an old grandmother. If the other half is as brief as that.
Be quiet and listen. First of all, you must agree not to interrupt me, or else I'll get in a muddle. Come, listen quietly. I have an old grandmother. I came into her hands when I was quite a little girl, for my father and mother are dead. It must be supposed that grandmother was once richer, for now she only recalls better days. She taught me French herself and then got a teacher for me. When I was 15, and now I am 17, we gave up the lessons.
Her voice carried a kind of resigned fondness, and she kept her eyes on the dark, rippling water.
It was then that I got into mischief. What I did, I won't tell you. It wasn't very important. But grandmother called me to her one morning and said, "As I am blind, I cannot look after you properly." She took a pin and pinned my dress to hers, saying we should sit like that for the rest of our lives, if, of course, I didn't become a better girl. At first, it was impossible to get away from her. I had to work, to read, to study, all right there beside grandmother. Once, I tried to deceive her.
Her tone grew more mischievous now, almost proud of her small rebellion.
I persuaded Fekla, our charwoman, she's deaf, to sit in my place. Grandmother was asleep in her armchair, and I slipped out to visit a friend nearby. Well, it ended in trouble. Grandmother woke while I was gone and asked some questions. She thought I was still there. But poor Fekla, she saw grandmother was speaking, but couldn't tell what she wanted. So she panicked, undid the pin, and ran away.
At that point, Nastenka broke into laughter. I couldn't help but laugh with her, but she stopped quickly and grew serious.
I tell you what, don't laugh at grandmother. I laugh because it's funny, but I am fond of her, you know, in my own way. Oh, I did catch it that time. I had to sit back down immediately, and after that, I wasn't allowed to stir. Oh, I forgot to tell you, our house belongs to grandmother. It's a little wooden house with 3 windows, almost as old as grandmother herself. It even has a little upper story. Well, we had a new lodger move in up there.
Then you had an old lodger before?
Yes, of course, and one who knew how to hold his tongue better than you do. In fact, he hardly ever used his tongue at all. He was dumb, blind, lame, a dried-up little old man, and eventually, he just couldn't go on living. He died. So we needed a new lodger. We couldn't live without one. The rent, along with grandmother's pension, is almost all we have. But the new lodger, as luck would have it, he was a young man, a stranger, not from these parts. He didn't haggle over the rent, so grandmother accepted him. Only afterward she asked me,
"Tell me, Nastenka, what is our lodger like? Is he young or old?"
I didn't want to lie, so I told grandmother he wasn't exactly young, and he wasn't exactly old.
She paused there. Something in her tone had shifted, almost imperceptibly. The story had only just begun.
"And is he pleasant looking?"
I didn't want to tell a lie. "Yes, he is pleasant looking, grandmother," I said, and grandmother cried.
"Oh, what a nuisance! What a nuisance! I tell you this, grandchild, that you are not to be looking after him. What times these are! Why, a paltry lodger like this, and he must be pleasant looking too. It was very different in the old days."
Grandmother was always regretting the old days. She was younger in the old days. The sun was warmer in the old days. And cream didn't turn sour so quickly in the old days. It was always the old days.
I would sit still and hold my tongue, just thinking, why did grandmother even suggest it to me? Why ask if he was young and good-looking? But that was all I did, just thought it. Then I counted my stitches again, went on knitting my stocking, and forgot all about it. Well, one morning, the lodger came in to see us. He asked about a promise to paper his rooms. One thing led to another. Grandmother was in a talkative mood and said,
"Go, Nastenka, into my bedroom and bring me my reckoner."
I jumped up at once. I blushed all over, I don't know why, and I forgot I was still pinned to grandmother. Instead of quietly undoing the pin so the lodger wouldn't notice, I jumped so hard that grandmother's chair moved. When I realized that he now knew all about me, I blushed so deeply, stood still like I'd been shot, and suddenly I began to cry. I felt so ashamed, so miserable. I didn't know where to look. Grandmother called out,
"What are you waiting for?"
but I just stood there, crying even worse. And when the lodger saw it, when he saw that I was ashamed on his account, he bowed and quietly went away.
A silence followed. The moment had clearly stayed with her, fresh even now.
After that, I felt ready to die at the least sound in the passage. It's the lodger, I kept thinking, and I would stealthily undo the pin, just in case. But it was never him. He never came.
A fortnight passed.
Then, the lodger sent word through Fyokla. He said he had a great number of French books, and that they were all good books, books I might enjoy reading. Would grandmother let me read them, so I wouldn't be dull? Grandmother agreed gratefully, but she kept asking,
"Are they moral books? Because if the books are immoral, that would be out of the question. One would learn evil from them."
Nastenka smiled too, but with a little sigh. The story clearly had more to come.
"And what should I learn, grandmother? What is there written in them?" "Ah," she said,
"What's described in them is how young men seduce virtuous girls, how, on the excuse that they want to marry them, they carry them off from their parents' houses, and then leave these unhappy girls to their fate, and they perish in the most pitiful way. I've read a great many books, and it's all so well described that one sits up all night and reads them on the sly. So mind you, don't read them, Nastenka." "What books has he sent?"
"They are all Walter Scott's novels, grandmother."
"Walter Scott's novels? But stay, isn't there some trick about it? Look, hasn't he stuck a love letter among them?"
"No, grandmother, there isn't a love letter."
"But look under the binding. They sometimes stuff it under the bindings, the rascals."
"No, grandmother, there is nothing under the binding."
"Well, that's all right then."
So they began reading Walter Scott. In a month they had read almost half. Then he sent them more and more.
He even sent us Pushkin, and at last I couldn't get on without a book. I left off dreaming of how fine it would be to marry a Chinese prince.
That's how things stood, until one day she chanced to meet the lodger on the stairs.
Grandmother had sent me to fetch something. He stopped. I blushed, and he blushed too, but he laughed a little, said good morning, asked after grandmother, and said,
"Well, have you read the books?
"I have.
Which did you like best?"
Ivanhoe and Pushkin, best of all."
And so their talk ended for that time.
A week later, I met him again on the stairs. That time, grandmother hadn't sent me. I wanted to get something for myself. It was past 2. He used to come home at that time.
"Good afternoon.
"Good afternoon."
Aren't you dull sitting all day with your grandmother?"
When he asked that, I blushed. I don't know why, but I felt ashamed. And again, I felt offended. I suppose it was because others had started asking the same thing. I wanted to go away without answering, but I hadn't the strength.
Listen, you are a good girl. Excuse my speaking to you like that, but I assure you, I wish for your welfare as much as your grandmother does. Have you no friends you could go and visit?
I told him I hadn't any, that I had had no friend but Mashenta, and she had gone away to Pskov.
Listen, would you like to go to the theater with me?
To the theater? But what about grandmother?
But you must go without your grandmother's knowing it.
No, I don't want to deceive grandmother. Goodbye.
Well, goodbye.
And he said nothing more.
Only after dinner he came to see us. He sat a long time talking to grandmother, asked her whether she ever went out anywhere, whether she had acquaintances, and then suddenly he said,
I have taken a box at the opera for this evening. They're giving The Barber of Seville. My friends meant to go, but afterwards refused, so the ticket is left on my hands.
The Barber of Seville. Why, the same they used to act in the old days?
Yes, it's the same barber.
and he glanced at me. I saw what it meant and turned crimson.
To be sure, I know it. Why, I took the part of Rosina myself in the old days at a private performance.
So, wouldn't you like to go today, or my ticket will be wasted?
By all means, let us go. Why shouldn't we? And my Nastenka here, she's never been to the theater.
My goodness, what joy! We got ready at once, put on our best clothes, and set off. Even though grandmother was blind, she still wanted to hear the music. But mostly, it was for me. She is a kind old soul, and what she cared most for was to amuse me. We should never have gone on our own.
What her impressions were of the Barber of Seville she wouldn't say, but all that evening the lodger looked at her so kindly, talked so gently, that she saw he had only tested her that morning when he asked her to go alone.
Well, it was joy. I went to bed so proud, so gay. My heart beat so fast, I was a little feverish, and all night I was raving about the Barber of Seville.
She expected he would visit more after that, but it wasn't so at all.
He almost entirely gave up coming, just once a month and only to invite us to the theater. We went twice again, but I wasn't at all pleased with that. I saw then he was simply sorry for me because I was so hardly treated by grandmother, and that was all.
As time went on, she grew more and more restless. She couldn't sit still, couldn't read, couldn't work.
Sometimes I laughed and did something just to annoy grandmother. Other times I cried, I grew thin, and was very nearly ill.
The opera season ended, and the lodger stopped coming altogether. Whenever they met, always on the same staircase, he would bow silently, gravely, as though he didn't want to speak, and he would go down to the front door, while she...
I would stand right there in the middle of the stairs, as red as a cherry, for all the blood had rushed to my head just at the sight of him. Now the end is near. Just a year ago, in May, the lodger came to us and told grandmother that he had finished his business here and that he must go back to Moscow for a year. When I heard that, I sank into a chair, half dead. Grandmother didn't notice anything, and after he had informed us, he bowed and went away.
What was I to do? She said. She thought and thought, fretted and fretted, until finally she made up her mind.
Next day he was to go away, and I decided I would end it all that evening after grandmother went to bed. And so it happened. I packed all my clothes into a parcel, just the linen I needed, and with that parcel in my hand, more dead than alive, I went upstairs to our lodger.
She believes she must have stood an hour on the staircase when she opened the door.
He cried out when he saw me. He thought I was a ghost. He rushed to get me water, for I could hardly stand. My heart beat so violently, my head ached. I didn't know what I was doing.
When she recovered, she laid her parcel on his bed, sat beside it, hid her face in her hands, and wept in torrents.
I think he understood it all at once. He looked at me so sadly. My heart felt torn.
Listen, Nastenka, I can't do anything. I am a poor man. I have nothing, not even a decent post. How could we live if I were to marry you?
They talked for a long time, but at last she grew frantic.
I said I couldn't go on living with grandmother, that I would run away, that I didn't want to be pinned to her anymore, that I would go to Moscow if he wanted, because I could not live without him. Shame, pride, love, they were all shouting in me at once, and I fell on the bed, almost in convulsions. I was terrified of being refused.
He sat still for some minutes. Then he rose. He came to her, took her hand in his.
Listen, my dear good Nastenka, listen. I swear to you that if I am ever in a position to marry, you shall make my happiness. I assure you, now, you are the only one who could make me happy. Listen, I'm going to Moscow. I'll be there just a year. I hope to establish myself, and when I come back, if you still love me, I swear we will be happy. Now it is impossible. I cannot do it. I have no right to promise anything now. Well, I repeat, if it's not within a year, it will be sometime. That is, of course, if you do not prefer someone else. For I cannot and dare not bind you with any promise.
That was what he said to me, and the next day he went away.
They had agreed to tell grandmother nothing. That had been his wish.
Well, my story is nearly finished now. Just a year has passed. He has arrived. He has been here 3 days, and...
And what? I cried, impatient to hear the end.
And up to now, he has not shown himself. There's been no sign, no sound of him.
She said it steadily, but her hands trembled. Here, she stopped. She paused for a minute, then bent her head, and covering her face with her hands, she broke into such sobs that it sent a pang straight to my heart. I had not in the least expected such a denouement. Nastenka, Nastenka, for goodness sake, don't cry. How do you know? Perhaps he's not here yet.
He is. He's here, and I know it. We made an agreement that evening before he went away. We said everything I've told you, and then we came out here for a walk on this very embankment. It was 10 o'clock. We sat right here on this seat. I wasn't crying then. It was sweet to hear what he said.
Her voice broke again, but she continued.
He said that he would come to us the moment he arrived, and if I didn't refuse him, then we would tell grandmother everything. Now he's here. I know it. And yet he does not come.
And again she burst into tears. Good God, can I do nothing to help you in your sorrow? Tell me, Nastenka, wouldn't it be possible for me to go to him?
Would that be possible?
No, of course not. But I tell you what, write him a letter.
No, that's impossible. I can't do that.
How impossible? Why is it impossible? Nastenka, it depends on what sort of letter. There are letters and letters. Ah, Nastenka, I'm right. Trust me. I won't give you bad advice. It can all be arranged. You took the first step. Why not now?
I can't. It would seem as though I were forcing myself on him.
Ah, my good little Nastenka, no, you have a right to, because he made you a promise, and I can see from everything that he's a man of delicate feeling. He behaved very well. How did he behave? He bound himself by a promise. He said that if he were ever to marry, he would marry no one but you. He gave you full liberty to refuse him. Under such circumstances, you may take the first step. You are in the privileged position. If, for instance, you wanted to free him from his promise.
Listen, how would you write?
Write what?
This letter.
I tell you how I would write. Dear Sir.
Must I really begin like that? Dear Sir?
You certainly must. Though, after all, I don't know. I imagine.
Well, well, what next?
Dear Sir, I must apologize for... But no, there's no need to apologize. The fact itself justifies everything. And so their hearts stirred with a plan. There, beside the canal, the tears had not dried, but the silence was broken by something else. A chance. Write simply. I am writing to you. Forgive me my impatience, but I have been happy for a whole year in hope. Am I to blame for being unable to endure a day of doubt now? Now that you have come, perhaps you have changed your mind. If so, this letter is to tell you that I do not repine, nor blame you. I do not blame you, because I have no power over your heart. Such is my fate. You are an honorable man. You will not smile or be vexed at these impatient lines. Remember, they are written by a poor girl, that she is alone, that she has no one to direct her, no one to advise her, and that she herself could never control her heart. But forgive me that a doubt has stolen, if only for one instant, into my heart. You are not capable of insulting, even in thought, her who so loved and so loves you.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Oh, you have solved my difficulties. God has sent you to me. Thank you, thank you.
What for? What for God's sending me?
Why, yes, for that too.
Ah, Nastenka, why? One thanks some people just for being alive at the same time as oneself. But I thank you for having met me, for my being able to remember you all my life.
Well, enough. But now I tell you what, listen. We made an agreement that as soon as he arrived, he would let me know by leaving a letter with some good, simple people of my acquaintance, people who know nothing about any of this. Or, if it were impossible to write a letter, for a letter does not always tell everything, he would be here at 10 o'clock on the day he arrived, where we had arranged to meet. I know he has arrived already, but now it's the third day, and there's no sign of him, and no letter. It's impossible for me to get away from grandmother in the morning, so give my letter tomorrow to those kind people I spoke to you about. They will send it on to him, and if there is an answer, you bring it tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
And so, hope moved forward by a thread. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, everything could change. But the letter! You see, you must write the letter first. So, perhaps it must all be the day after tomorrow.
The letter, that...
But she did not finish. At first, she turned her little face away from me, flushed like a rose, and suddenly, I felt in my hand a letter, already written, sealed, clearly prepared long before. R-O, row, S-I-C, N-I, na, Rosina. We both hummed it together, I almost embracing her in my delight, while she blushed as only she could blush, and laughed through the tears that gleamed like pearls on her black eyelashes.
Come, enough. Goodbye now. Here is the letter. Here is the address to which you are to take it. Goodbye, till we meet again. Till tomorrow.
She pressed both my hands warmly, nodded her head, and flew like an arrow down her side street. I stood still for a long time, following her with my eyes. Till tomorrow was still ringing in my ears as she vanished from my sight.